Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of October 2015 and I'm pretty excited and I think you can see why. From my customer Royce in California, a couple weeks ago came two Todd Begg Bodegas. And here they are. Aren't they beautiful? The Bodega, I think, is kind of a significant knife in the semi-custom world. I won't call them mid-tech, I'll call them semi-custom. Well, they're a big deal, a significant knife in the folding knife world, period. But they're kind of neat. Todd Begg is a rather famous knife maker. His current facilities, I believe, are in Petaluma, California. And he's a knife maker of renown. He's sort of known for making, outlandish, really expensive custom knives, like from $2,000 to $20,000 custom knives. Some of them kind of hokey, kind of cartoonish knives that people with more money than brains buy because they can. And in 2012, I believe, is when the Bodega was released. And it was a bit of a departure from what Todd normally does, in that they were affordable. Well, affordable by our standards, you and I, the normal guy. Well, I guess maybe not by our standards. These are still over $1,000 a piece. But much more affordable than most of Todd's one-off customs. And not only are they significant in that regard, but they're also significant because in 2012, when these knives were released for the first time, there weren't too many knives that went like that. There weren't too doggone many flippers on the market, and there were even fewer flippers on IKBS ball bearings. So the Bodega, aside from its stunning good looks, became famous quickly for its flipping action. Hard to believe. In the span of a mere 3 years, we've gone from revolutionary to just what everybody expects in an expensive tactical folder. Now, ball bearings and flippers. But there's much more to the Bodega than ball bearings and flippers. Although I do think that's why they became so famous so quickly. But let's kind of just take a look at what we've got here. And we're going to start with this one. This is the all titanium sunburst pattern. Notice the sunburst pattern milled into these scales. These rays start close together down here at the nose of the knife and they radiate out like sunshine. So what is this thing? We know that it is a 3 3/4 inch tactical knife. Of course, I might take exception with that characterization as we go along, because I really don't think these are tactical knives. I think they're pocket jewelry. And that's not a dirty word, pocket jewelry. That's kind of a cool thing if we can afford it. I understand. So it's 3 3/4 inches long, and I think the handle's about 5 inches. I read that today, and I'm old and my memory's no good. Yeah, we'll say it's a little longer than that. About 5 1/8. Now, this particular knife weighs 6.3 ounces with its 150 thousandths blade stock. This knife with the carbon fiber overlays, 7.2. So we've got a titanium frame lock, sort of. Another sort of revolutionary characteristic of the Bodega is its bolt-on lock. The knife is assembled using the pivot and 5 posts that go through all components, backspacer, both scales, 5, count them, 5, 6 fast points of location. I would say that should give us some structural integrity, don't you think? And then, if you notice, see the split right here? The back section of the lock side frame and the lock bar are one piece, and then this section that houses the pivot is another piece. So Todd calls that his bolt-on lock. So if there's ever an issue with lock failure, if the lock face sheared off, if it developed lock rock, he could remove with these last 3 body screws the lock and pocket clip assembly, install a new lock, and away we go, which is kind of cool, I think. And because we've still got 1, 2, 3 positive points of location in that frame on the lock side, apart from the bolt-on lock, we've still got great integrity. Got a backspacer that's a little more than half the length of the knife, but still a large open area. Hello. If we need to flush anything out of the knife. This is kind of, like a classic exotic car. Let's just spend some time, shall we? Macroing. Notice the stonewashed finish, and then notice the bright border around the sunburst pattern. That is milled in after the stonewash, so it is bright. Edges are all beautifully radiused. The pivots are all, the knives are made from components that are made from CNC, and then they're all hand fitted with lots of time taken in the pivot area. All the pivots are hand lapped, honed and hand lapped, as is the hole in the blade, for perfect slip fit, no play. The blades are so nicely done. Get a fairly deep hollow grind with a satin finish going vertically, and then the flats have a surface grinder satin going the long way. And then you've got that beautiful channel with 6 holes in it, that fuller groove, just beautiful. And then a harpoon swedge on the top. Now my all titanium version here does have some jimping, and it's purposeful but rounded peaks. Sort of usable back here in the conventional saber grip. Very usable up here in the forward finger choil. I would call this a spear point harpoon blade. Suitable for one thing, at least, looking at it. Not the greatest cutter. We'll get into that as we go. And then notice after we talked about the fuller and the 6 holes in the blade, the holes are repeated in the lock bar, which is pretty cool. Of course, the flipper tab makes a nice finger guard. But as I was saying, like a classic car, exotic in nature, the more you look at it, the more you see. You stare at it for a while, and then another detail grabs you. While we're here, let's talk about that pocket clip. A Todd Begg original. It's a titanium spring clip on standoffs with a ceramic ball that rides on the fabric of your pocket. And it's good. It's great retention. It's easily one-hand insertable. Doesn't seem to snag on anything. It's a very good clip. And man, is it good looking. Now this knife is sort of my favorite of the two that I have, with one little exception that we'll get to as we go. But this backspacer I think is awesome. We've got the gear pattern, and the gear pattern matches the jimping in the blade almost exactly. And then the top, the spine side of the backspacer is beautifully checkered, kind of like the back strap on a 1911. Beautiful, just beautiful. Let's look at the lockup on this one. Oh gosh, what do you think, guys? 30%? There's no rock, there's no stick, maybe the slightest bit of almost Chris Reeve-like hydraulic lock stick, just to let you know it's there. The geometry's good. The operation of the lock is excellent. Why can't flippers get this right? Did you see that, guys? That's all. This is, you know, there are things about the Chris Reeve Sabenza that all frame locks should emulate, and there's something about the Bodega that all flippers should emulate. Do you see that? Where's my thumb when I release the lock bar? Right here in the relief cut that wants my thumb to be in it, and I release the lock and I move the blade forward. What happened to the flipper? Well, it went right past my thumb, didn't it? Huh. You see that, guys? Look. It doesn't have to hit your thumb and make your regrip to get past the detent ball. You just have to do it like this. Ooh. Love it. These things are so well made. They're like a fine piece of jewelry. They're like a watch that doesn't run from Switzerland. But they do run, don't they? Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, let's look at our blade centering. I think you'll find that it's perfect. Man, what a beauty. Let's see if you can hang on to it. Yeah, the saber grip is beautiful. The forward saber grip is beautiful. The hammer grip is great. And you've got that sort of forward cant of the blade. Draw cut grip, not bad at all. You get a little pocket clip here, but it's not uncomfortable. Flipper tab meeting the web of my hand, but not in an uncomfortable way. Reverse grip, absolute money. Stunning. Now let's talk about some negatives. In this, I almost have to overlook this in a knife in this price class with this kind of precision and build quality, but not. And here it is. The grind is very odd. It's a hollow grind, and these two knives are actually different. This knife, notice the serpentine nature of the primary bevel. So the hollow grind starts out straight, and then the root or the valley of that grind follows the belly of the blade. Like that. Where this one is more like a hot dog. It just goes straight. So the thinnest points of this grind are about right here. Yeah, it takes the plunge grind that far to stop. And then right here. So there's a pretty thin spot of blade right here. Notice I'm thick through the belly. I get thin here, and then I start to thicken again at the tip, because the base of my hollow grind is about right here. On this one, where the hollow grind is curved, you're going to see a much more consistent bevel width, because the knife is the same thickness behind the edge, from about right here all the way out to the tip. Better. But both of them suffer from the same Todd Begg problem. Sip of coffee. Not as bad on this one, and I think it's because of the shape of the grind. That looks right at the base, doesn't it? Until we flip it over and look. Here. Yeah, that knife isn't sharp until half an inch from the finger choil, which presents a problem. It gives us a low spot right here. So the stone is going to bridge that low spot from the heel to about right here. And it makes it very hard to get that edge right and get the edge polished right in front of the unsharpened faux edge. Just a horrible idea. I know I've seen a reviewer talk about this feature as a feature, saying that it makes it difficult to cut your finger if you accidentally slip out of the choil, which, okay, but you know, I stopped using scissors with round tips after kindergarten, guys, just so you know. I hate it. You guys know I hate it. It's worse on this one. Look at that. Let's see if I can get you a good... Almost had it. Oh yeah, look at that. Ugh. Isn't that horrendous? I mean, this knife is $1,240. Come on. I'll never understand it. Also, they're pretty doggone thick behind the edge, and I do understand that. They're $1,240. We don't need to be replacing blades in them because people who shouldn't get a hold of them and do with them things that they shouldn't. They come from the factory sharpened at 21 degrees per side, and I sharpened these for Royce, and I did not alter that geometry. You know why? If this is this ugly now, how ugly would it be if I tried to put a 17 degrees per side edge on this knife? Yeah, it'd be horrible. However, I took some time. There's no micro bevel, just a little deburring pass with my 2000 grit polishing tapes, and then a good stropping. So it's 21 degrees per side to the edge. But in this nasty, horrendous, fibrous phone book paper, they still cut. I did this for you, Royce. Oh. Because a knife this expensive should have an edge, shouldn't it? And the edge from the factory, although sharp, was pretty ugly. It wasn't symmetrical, and it's just very hard to make this edge look good because the stock thickness varies so wildly in these first 2 inches of blade. But it ought to look good because the rest of the knife looks so doggone good. They're solid as a rock, guys. Just solid as a rock. Let's spend some time with this one. I don't know what finish we call this on the pivot insert and on the back spacer. It's not an orange peel. It's something different than that, and man, is it attractive. It's almost like Spanish lace on your ceiling. And it carries over to the pocket clip as well. The lightning strike carbon fiber overlays or scales are just gorgeous. And you know, one thing about Todd Begg knives, they know how to finish. There's not a fiber poking out of any corner on these carbon fiber scales. Just amazing. I so love the mechanics of these knives, the fit and finish, the ergonomics. I really wish it came in a a blade style that was really a pure cutter. That would be something. Word to the wise. I think a year and a half ago maybe, a version of this knife was released called the Field Grade Bodega. I have had one of those in for sharpening a few weeks ago. I was pretty excited to get it, and I did not make a video. It was one of the rare videos I didn't make because it was a customer knife, and the video was going to be so negative. I just didn't want to make somebody feel that bad that had spent that much money on a knife. $695 those cost-ish. They're all G10 except for the bolt-on lock and the backspacer, I think. The blade grinds are thicker and more horrendous than either one of these. I would say that they have the build quality and the feel of the Triple-Aught Design Dauntless series, which is not bad for a $300 knife, but it's not a $695 knife. It was kind of embarrassing, actually. So when these two came in later, I thought, oh no, I hope these $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 bodegas aren't as nasty as that field grade bodega, and it was nasty. It's a field grade knife. It should have a blade made to cut, not this jacked up geometry. That's great for a knife that's a bling knife. And these are bling knives. And you can make them cut, but there's so many mid-tech knives you can buy for far less than $695 that are so superior to a field grade bodega. But this is a whole different animal. They might share the same model name, but they are not the same knife. Different purpose, different class, different level of everything. These things are beautiful, just beautiful. It's been a blessing to have them, and Royce, look forward to them coming home. You are going to be amazed, my friend. That's it for tonight. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Royce's bodegas are sharp.